What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 14 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Kyle Roscoe, and what an unbelievable show we have for you today. It was an absolutely amazing weekend last week, and it's only going to get better from here, as not only are we covering the late Pick5 today at Keeneland on Friday, which is an absolutely unbelievable card. Granted, it's Keeneland opening day, but for a Friday, which is the first Friday we're going to be covering in a while, it's an absolutely amazing card. So you won't want to miss this one. Thank you so much for being here. And on Saturday, or Thursday, excuse me, they are covering Saturday, but for Thursday, the boys on the flagship show have two shows. It's going through scrolling on the right hand side, bottom of the screen at 6:30 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Eastern. They are covering both the Wood Memorial and the Bluegrass. I believe it's the Bluegrass first, but an absolutely massive week for the podcast. And don't forget, on Saturday, we have a live show covering Howard's calling it the Tapatrice fan club party for watching him run the Bluegrass. So please, it's an absolutely massive week for the podcast, as I said. So please check those out if you are very interested. And down below, you can email me, Bettin N Boozin, no G's, Bettin, the letter N, Boozin at gmail.com. Questions, comments, concerns, please go over there. And you can follow me on Twitter at AP Roscoe K, where I'll be posting all my picks for Keeneland Friday and the Bluegrass Stakes and Wood Memorial Day. So please check that out if you are so inclined. Please go down while you're here, go down below the video player and hit subscribe if you aren't already. It helps us out tremendously. Not only gives you all of our videos, but it also lets YouTube know that this is a show that people want to watch, and it will continue to push it out. So please, as our road to the Kentucky Derby is nearing, obviously nearing the first Saturday in May, it would be greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for doing that. And while you're down there, please like the video. It does the same exact thing as the subscribe button does. It pushes it out to more people that would want to watch, especially come Derby time, like I said. So again, thank you all for doing that. If you could, like I said, for our audio listeners, if you prefer to watch the listen to the audio version while you're working out, going in the car, doing whatever, our three main are Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Please go check us out there. Please rate, review, and subscribe on those platforms. As for the power picks, I mean, we're nearing the Derby, as I continue to say, and our power picks are absolutely red hot. Last week, we covered it on Monday, but last week, Howard gave out pick fives for both tracks that he did. One of them paid almost $1,200 for a $90 bet. I mean, what are you waiting for? It's only $4 a weekend to cash stuff like that. Even once in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're cashing $1,200 tickets. I mean, like I said, what are you waiting for? It's only $4 a weekend, comes out to about $15.99 a month, which is what Patreon charges, as they charge per month. And we had a 2.6 ROI in 2022 just on spot plays alone. That's almost $1 over the national average. So please, like I said, as we're nearing Derby time, you're going to want to get in on it. So please go to patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast for more. And on the website, as I bring it up now, it's hhhracingpodcast.com. You will be able to find all of the previous versions of the power picks. If you're looking for like a visual representation or an example, you can go over there and take a look at that, as well as the About Us section and everything else that our great host Pete Visco does on that website. So please go check it out, hhhracingpodcast.com. And last thing, thank you again to our great sponsor for making Bettin N Boozin possible. BetUS is a fantastic sports betting and casino platform. Excuse me, my bad, technical difficulties. But for all your big plays, to offer 200 games a day, 300 to 400 different props to play. And we do have a code. If you go deposit money, it is Racing3H when you sign up and you deposit your first bonus. Please use code Racing3H. You'll get a free 125% back if you deposit $100 or more. And once again, thanks so much to BetUS for making this possible. Guys, a lot of people already joining. This is amazing to see. Thank you all so much for joining in. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. And as I bring up Stephen Vanderbrook, good evening, gentlemen. Thanks, Stephen, so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate. Trish Smith, long time no see. Trish, so glad that you're coming. I'm super excited for Keeneland start. If you can't tell by my attire, it's my favorite track to bet. It's my favorite track to be at that I've been to so far. We'll test Saratoga in the summer, but I'm super excited for Keeneland to start. Like I said, it's my favorite week, 2 weeks or 2 months out of the year when Keeneland runs. So thanks, Trish, for joining the show. Jimmy Toyas, thanks so much for joining the show. Keeneland opening day, man. Let's get it. Like I said, it's an absolutely amazing time of the year. So, Jimmy, thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. Michael's already given out bets, man. I love it. Michael's already given out bets. No singles, but you'll see what single I'm going with. And Patrick actually also has a single as well. So stay tuned for that. Michael, thanks so much for joining the show. Matthew, completely agree. And not only is there an amazing, like I said, amazing opening day card with the what's it called? God, I cannot remember. The Transylvania. Wow. Then the Ashland. And then you got the Bluegrass the following day. An absolutely amazing time of the year. Thanks, Matthew, for joining the show. Nick Feldman's here. Let's go, Keeneland, man. I love it. V1. Black Forest loves Keeneland as much as me. Thanks so much for doing the show. I'm not sure if I've seen your name before. So, V1, thanks so much for doing the show. Greatly appreciate it. I might be able to test you that for that Keeneland love, but we'll see how it goes. Frank Payne, again, another new viewer that I really haven't seen. Frank, thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. Jim is here. Like I said, I'm always excited to see your name, Jim. One of the oldest supporters of the podcast. Not only Bettin N Boozin, but the HHH Racing Podcast as a whole. So, Jim, thanks so much for doing the show. Greatly appreciate it. And Derby Knowledge 93, again, another thank you guys so much for all the new viewers for joining the show, as well as the old viewers, of course. But how's it going? Been down to Keeneland many times. First Bluegrass was 1975 when Master Derby won the slot. Aladar, yep, exactly. I mean, it's just so much rich history. And obviously, like I said, being a little bit of a younger guy, I don't go as far back, obviously, as a lot of you guys do, but I've been learning and picking up on all this history. And like I said, Keeneland's just absolutely amazing, as I'm sure all of you agree with me in the chat that, I mean, I'm just always super excited. I'm always excited for the fall, but when the spring rolls around at Keeneland, it's an absolutely amazing time. And I'll talk about my experiences at Keeneland as well as my future experiences to have at Keeneland coming up. So everyone, thanks so much for joining the show. Trish, I'll get to that comment in a second, but let me bring on my absolutely great co-host, Charlie. Again, I know we can never get the band back together. I swear to God, we got it for 1 week and now everyone's gone again. But my great co-host to not only talk horses with me, but to talk about the Masters later, my great co-host from New Jersey, Patrick Kuenzel. Patrick, what's going on, my friend?
Nothing much. We got a good weekend in store. I mean, we just had March Madness, which was fun, but this weekend might live up to that.
Yeah, not only, you got 2 massive derby preps and you got, like us golf guys know, this is the best time of the year, man. Masters weekend. And, like I said, it can only get better from here, but I'm drinking some Corona. It's going to be an absolutely great time. I got a bunch more to hear. Patrick's got his local shit, but to everybody out there, cheers to you. And let's get into this pick 5 here for Keeneland opening day. Let's not waste any more time. Guys, like I said on Twitter, if you guys saw, I want to hear all your opinions. If you guys have handicapped this card already, if you guys have looked at it, I want to hear all the opinions in the chat. So please put all your opinions for every single race that we go through, and I'll try to get as many as we can. But Patrick, as I bring up our first picks for race 6 is the start of the late pick 5 on Friday, and it is a really, really nice allowance, starting off with just my favorite type of racing, turf sprints. And I know Howard, if he shows up later, he'll have something to say about it as well. But as I bring up the picks again, we're very similar. We are both going with the massive layoff horse in Coffee Maker for Wesley Ward on the 8. It is a full field of 9 as I bring up the Equibase entries, right? I'm sorry. Why is this not coming up? There we go. All right, perfect. I bring up the card, it's like I said, it's a great 120,000 allowance field going 5.5 furlongs on the turf. It is a field of 9. The 6-5 heavy morning line favorite is the number 8 Coffee Maker for Velasquez and Wesley Ward, as I said. And like I said, Patrick, we are both going with Coffee Maker on the outside. What did you like about him?
Yeah, so I mean, turf sprints are always
her. By the way, sorry, I did it already. We're 10 minutes in. I already did it. So drinks up and go ahead.
What I was going to say was turf sprints are always tough to handicap, but Coffee Maker, I mean, last ran in the middle of October on this turf at this distance and wicked fast fractions, and just pretty much ran these horses off their feet. Has been training well for Wesley Ward, is going to be the speed of the speed, has the option of sitting back, though, is versatile. I just think this horse can mix and match and do whatever she wants to do. So it's one of those, do you trust the other Ward, who is running on synthetic the last 2 times, and it hasn't really raced at the rate that Coffee Maker has the last 2 times out. And I just think Coffee Maker might be head and shoulders above this field.
Yeah, I mean, look, I completely agree with you. Obviously, the one glaring obvious thing is this horse has raced once in the past 1.5 years. It hasn't. It saw the Breeders' Juvenile Turf Sprint at 2 years old, who lost a good horse in Twilight Gleaming, then comes back in the fall of Keeneland last year and absolutely runs all them off their feet in that race. Beating a really good key race, might I add, as the top two horses. I bring up the top two horses, the sixth horse, they all came back to win. Sutherland came back to win with an 85 with a 85 buyer, granted on the dirt, but still these two horses both came back to win their next races. But again, that's the glaring obvious point as the one knock that everyone's going to give this horse is this horse has raced once in a year and a half. And like I said, Wesley Ward, the stat right here in the last 5 years for Ward out of a 3 to 6 month layoff is 112 for 463, winning at a 25% clip. Last time I checked, that's pretty fucking good. I mean, look, I have all the faith in the Ward barn, and the fact that if this horse is any stretch of the imagination of what this horse used to be, running anywhere close to that 92, I think mid 80s probably wins this race. This horse is going to shoot out like a rocket and hopefully never look back in this type of field. And I know, Patrick, you was talking about the other Wesley Ward horse that you had, which is the number 6 for Ward and Irad.
Yeah, I see Nick talking about her world in the chat. I was looking at that with IRAD. It caught my eye too. But to be honest with you, I don't know if this horse is as good as Coffee Maker. Like I just think Johnny V ran Coffee Maker last time out, ran well. Why would you change that to IRAD? I mean, is Johnny V to IRAD a bit of a difference? Maybe, but I wouldn't look at it that way. I just think Coffee Maker's the better horse, and her world was just a little below. And to be honest with you, her world has not been training great as of late.
Yeah, and I agree with the thing that Nick just put in the chat was I wouldn't be surprised if one of the words scratches. I mean,
Yeah.
I completely agree. You see this a lot of the time. Sorry, I meant to click that. You see this a lot of the time. Granted, not so much from like a guy like Wesley Ward, but if there were to scratch someone, I would assume her world would be scratched. I mean, this horse is shortening up a little bit in distance, getting that little bit. I think that actually might hurt this horse.
Mhm.
As you see in its shorter races, granted he was in the lead at Monmouth, but I actually really like I don't like this horse nearly as much as Coffee Maker. I think it's just a little bit slower on figures. And the fact that Wesley takes this horse off the turf, throws it at Turfway, again, might just be for the winter racing, but I'm gonna stick with Coffee Maker. Like I said, I think Coffee Maker runs that mid 80s buyer. I think he wins this race. She wins this race. I'm pulling a Paul. Like I continuously am pulling a Paul. I apologize to all the viewers in the chat, but I gotta take a drink for it. But all in all seriousness, I just don't think this horse matches up well in figures wise with the 8 Coffee Maker. But if this horse continues to improve off its last synthetic race, I also don't think that the number 6, that the two wards are going to be battling each other up front. Granted, it is a turf sprint, but a lot of times when you see these two trainers or same trainer on two different horses, you don't want them battling each other up front. So whether her world goes and Coffee Maker sits right off or vice versa, I think Coffee Maker just going to get the better of the jump on either of them. Barry O'Brien, I see your comment. We will get to that in the third race of this sequence, but I have a really good quip for you, and maybe I am. You'll see as we get through this, but I just really like Coffee Maker, and then you have the 3. I have the 3 in second. What did you like about Nota Bene for Wilkes and Saez?
Yeah, I mean, Nota Bene is going to be coming from off the pace. I can tell you that much. She has a couple races that will hit the board in this race. Has been training fairly decent. I just think that the trainer's decent at Keeneland this year, Ian Wilkes, and a solid trainer. I think this horse can catch a piece coming, running down late. So, you know, if this horse picks up the pieces, and I actually hint do have this horse in my pick 5 to catch a price at the beginning.
I'm sure you can see it. I have this horse second. I completely agree with you. This horse is really kind of inconsistent in a way, I guess. But
Yeah.
honestly, with being a closer at these turf sprint distances, you're never going to necessarily always have the same trip in every race. Like I said, when you're coming from the back in this sort of race, you have to have not everything go your way if you're really good, but if you're a horse that's kind of a little bit wishy-washy, you're going to have stuff go your way. And if the pace does fall apart, I think this is going to be one of those horses that's going to come from the back. But also one thing I wanted to touch on that actually our great boss Howard Kravitz and I talked about was the fact that a lot of these horses a lot of these good horses are coming from the Gulfstream Championship meet up to Kentucky, and there's a big difference in the turf course. So, down at Gulfstream, granted, it's basically turf at this point. Obviously, no, not really any fault of Gulfstream's. It just really has not rained down there. But it's basically turf. It's very firm. It's very speed favoring on most days rather. But they come to Kentucky where it's lush. It's very, like, you can really dig into the turf, and it generally favors horses coming from the back. So if there's a lot of fighting up front, you're not necessarily going to see that kind of bolting action cutting the corner from a lot of these horses. I mean, obviously, if Coffee Maker's ahead by a length and a half at the top of the stretch, and you see him bolt off, it's a different story. But if you see a lot of generally, if you see a lot of horses fighting up front, you're going to have that course favoritism towards these closers. So I really like Nota Bene with the added track stipulation to catch a piece in this race. And my last horse is the 2 Frozen Solid for Lynch and Kevin Krigger coming up from Gulfstream. Again, just really these last 2 races, again, he's going to definitely have to take a step up. But this is another horse where this horse has a little bit of tactical speed. If this horse can get up in the mid pack and kind of get the jump on everyone, I don't necessarily think this horse can necessarily be a win candidate. I think you're going to get every single bit of that 9-2, if not a little bit more, floating up with some kind of lower profile connections. But that's kind of what I just think that this horse can set a nice trip. And let's say if Herwold goes out to the front and can fall back, maybe Coffee Maker goes right by, but Frozen Solid can stay on for second or third or something along that line in your exactas. But that's kind of my thinking. I do see Frank Payne's comment that I want to touch on. He likes Coffee Maker in this race, but his long shot pick is the number 5 Dressed. Eclipse always have them ready. And I mean, look, the connections are there. Catalano, this horse is just going to really have to improve to win this race. Granted, race in the Jessamine, but that was at a mile and a 16th. They're shortening this horse back up. An Arlington Park legend Dress for Wayne Catalano, getting second with Jareth back then. But realistically, the Kentucky Downs 6.5 realistically plays like a mile in a lot of these cases. So really its only quick turf sprint is at Arlington Park. And, God, I love it to death. As you can probably tell for new viewers by my Twitter handle, I absolutely love that place to death. But it's just not the tip top of racing. So this horse is going to really have to prove it to me and really take a step up to get to win this race, let alone get in the money. But that's my thinking on this one. Patrick, let's go on to the net race 7 as I switch the PPs right now. This one is the Lafayette, which is an absolutely amazing race, and it's not even one of the featured races on the card, that being the Transylvania and the Ashland. But my God, what an amazing race this is. And actually, we are pretty close in our picks. Patrick is going with the number 5 Corona Bolt, and I'm going with the number 4 Determinately for Mark Cassie and Fradley and Pratt. And we're actually both going against, not completely against, of course. We both have the horse in second, but we are both against Hijazi on the win end in this race. And as I switch to the PPs, Patrick, what did you like about the number 5 Corona Bolt?
Yeah, Corona Bolt's second race in the Sugar Bowl at Fairgrounds, December 26th, ran a 97 buyer, absolutely dominated that field. That was one of the more impressive races that I saw at that Fairgrounds meet. And then, comes back in the Southwest, throws up a dud. But we saw who the horse faced, Arabian Night, Red Route 1. I mean, those horses were on the Derby Trail or are still on the Derby Trail, and then comes back and runs a solid figure of 93 and wins in an allowance race. I just think Cox will have this horse ready. Is off a bullet workout on April 1st. His numbers are incredible. Um, right now Cox is hitting on all cylinders, as we know. This feels like, you're going to get decent odds. The morning line is 5-2. I mean, I could see Mike Off is a favorite. I could be wrong, but I could see 2-1 odds on this horse. Because they tend to bet. We talked about before the
Yep.
show. Gulfport is going to be bet. We can guarantee that.
Yeah.
So
Which
I think this horse we might get decent odds.
Yeah, and the fact that Gulfport, look, no disrespect to I don't want to disrespect anybody, but Gulfport is one of those horses. He's just a money eater to me. Where this horse has ran decent in its last three, but really it's just burned money. And there's a lot. This is a very highly competitive field going 7 furlongs at Keeneland. I mean, I don't see it for Gulfport, but for Corona Bolt, I love I mean, it's not a turn back. He obviously only raced once at a mile and 16th. I think the 6.5, 7 furlongs is this horse's distance. Obviously, Stone Street and Cox, you can't go wrong with the connections in this spot. I really do like Corona Bolt. It's just going to come down to this horse has been in a lot of cold pace, as you can see denoted by the blue time form figures in the middle there. Going 21-3, but then slowing it down to a 45-1 half mile. This horse has just been able to catch a lot of breathing room through the middle of the races, and I think there's horses that are really going to want to go with him. Like for me, these two horses to the outside, while they may not be as fast as Corona Bolt, Hurricane J, we saw, granted, in the juvenile at a mile and 16th, but this horse was extremely quick out of the gate, was the horse that messed up Cave Rock in the early goings for Forte to come late in that race. The 6 is going to go to the lead. 4 is going to actually, I think, sit back. The Hijazi is going to definitely go to the lead. Gulfport's going to most likely be up front. I mean, there's just a lot of different speed to navigate in this race for Corona Bolt. So that's my only gripe with Corona Bolt is he going to be able to survive these quick fractions, as he's never really been able, as he's always been able to take a breather in these types of sprint races. That's my only quarrel, but I really do like Corona Bolt, as I do have him in third. I'm going with the number 4 determinedly for Pratt and Cassie. And I know he ran a complete dud in the Risen
29
Star.
buyer.
But I absolutely love the turn back for this horse. He's gonna love me when I say this, because I know he's a massive fan of turnbacks. This horse is definitely gonna have to improve. Do not get me wrong. But I think this horse, the shape really fits this horse. This is going to be a horse that doesn't necessarily need the lead by any means. This horse lost to Arabian Night at this on Breeders' Cup Saturday, might I add. That was, I believe, the first race at Keeneland. It was. I had to look at it in there. Yep. Lost by 7.25 to Arabian Night, who's obviously a very good horse for Baffert or Yachtine, I guess. But and then came back, destroyed the field at Churchill Downs. Granted, at a cold pace, was third in the Gun Runner behind Jace's Road, who's a nice horse. I just think this horse is not necessarily a need the lead type. And the fact that this horse picks up Pratt, actually, Rob N took the words right out of my mouth as I bring up his comment right here. Pratt, you never see Pratt run for Cassie. That's another thing. I don't usually play jockey gymnastics, but the fact that Pratt jumps on this horse, and this horse is realistically one of the only ones that's going to be able to sit off the pace in this race, at least in my eyes. I think this horse really has a shot. Like I said, he has to improve for sure. But coming off of a turn back to a distance that I think this horse is a lot more suited for, I think this horse, obviously this horse has been working lights out for Cassie. I think this horse really has a shot. And obviously, like I said, at Keeneland on Breeders' Cup Saturday, ran really well, just happened to lose to a way better horse than Arabian Night that day. But like I keep saying, like I said, I'm sorry, I apologize, but this horse is going to be one to sit off the pace, and that's why I'm going to take the 5-1 price on this horse. Patrick, I'll let you talk about Hijazi, who again we are both against in this race, but I mean definitely could win for sure.
Yeah, I'll put the horse on my ticket, but this horse was bought for $3.5 million and has made $130,000. Like, I don't. That's unbelievable to me. You look at the races that the horse has been in. Don't get me wrong, big races, has run huge buyers. This distance, a little bit longer. The horse has won at, and the maiden special weight. But I just, you can't really. I can't take my money to bet on this horse. I see other horses in this race improving and showing me something, and Hijazi's just not really. I just not a big fan. So has run bullet workouts, don't get me wrong, for Baffert, and it could romp this field, but there's a lot of speed, and I don't think this horse can really rate. So I'm going to go other way.
I completely agree with you. Look, the one thing that I do like about this horse is I love the turn back for this horse as well. There's a lot of horses with really good upside on the turn back, and this is definitely one of them. I think this horse is a lot better sprinting. Obviously, Baffert and Yachtin tried him out in the San Felipe. And again, it's Derby season. If this horse can get that mile in a 16th, especially when the horse is bought for such a high price tag that this horse was, you hope. I mean, out of AP Bernardini and a Medagliadoro mare, I mean, you really hope that this horse is going to like distance, but this horse seems to be a lot more better suited for that 6.5, 7 furlong distance. So that's definitely an upside for this horse. But again, as Patrick touched on, I think there's just a lot of speed in this race. This horse has got to overcome that. And I've really just never been that big of a fan of this horse in general, as a lot of cold paces in the races it's won and the races it's even lost. So we'll see how it goes on from there. But that's going to be where I'm looking. I'm going to be looking elsewhere with the number 4, Determinately, and Patrick is also going to be looking elsewhere with the number 5, Corona Bolt. And obviously, we touched on Gulfport, who I mean, he's definitely can stalk, but he just really hasn't been able to get anything done while really stalking the pace. I mean, you look back at very good races at the Saratoga Special and the Champagne, but I mean, this horse couldn't get by Verifying. Granted, a very nice horse, but couldn't get by him in the stretch, and they couldn't get by Damon's Mount. I mean, or Damon's Mount came over the top, got around Super Chow, but I don't see it for this horse. This horse, like I said, has been favored in every single race, 3-5, 1-5, 3-5, 1-1, 7-5, and just cannot get the job done, especially in these last 3 races. I just think this horse is going to take more money this time, and I'm definitely not going to be suited to play this horse at 3-1, let alone at the 5-1 mark. It's just the way it's going to come down for me. I'm going to play the 4. Patrick's playing the 5, and we're definitely going to go on from there. I don't really think there's too much else to talk about in this race. Patrick, do you gotta have anything else to close out, or you want to move on to the next race?
No, we can move on. You hit on it with Gulfport. I mean, Gulfport, I loved at Saratoga for the 2-year-old season last year, and just ran into suicidal paces and stuff like that. And it just, I got it. If the horse runs big, okay, you beat me, and I'll like you. But still, it's this horse has to show me something.
Yeah, and I agree. And Lugan Knight's another one that can kind of play that stalking pace. I just think this horse really has to improve, just like the 4 does. And I think the 4 might have a little bit better upside than the 2 realistically does in this spot. But again, the 2 is definitely not out of the question, especially if the pace collapses with this one. And Michael Austin, thank you so much. I appreciate the clarification. Arabian Night is with Baffert. So I apologize for that one. Roshan, thanks so much for joining the show. Really appreciate it. Hijazi's definitely the class in the regards to who this horse has faced. I mean, lost a Practical Move, who Anna Singh thinks is going to win the Derby in the first Saturday in May. Definitely could. We'll have to see with this week in the Santa Anita Derby to see how that horse really shows up. This horse, like I said, it's just going to have to navigate the pace structure. Both the 3 and the 5, in my opinion, have gotten some breathers within the middle of their races, and they're just going to have to show it to me that they can really get out in front and really just being able to hold the competition from wearing them down. I'm going the 4. Like I said, Patrick's going the 5. So as I move on to the next race, Patrick, this is the second feature race on the card. It is the Transylvania. And wow, I mean, like I keep saying it because it's every single race, it seems like, on this card, but it's just an absolutely amazing card at Keeneland. This is, like I said, the second most sought after race, I guess. That's probably not the word for it, but like I said, it is the Transylvania, and it is a full field of 12. The morning line favorite being the second to the outside in the number 11, Carl Spackler for Tyler Gaffleone with Chad Brown. And Patrick, what better horse to have on a weekend such as Masters weekend for a race? And as I move to our picks, we are both going with Carlos Spackler. And actually, Nick Feldman brought up earlier, and he actually just posted again here, that Carl Spackler might scratch. I haven't heard that. I've been trying to keep up with as much news as possible, especially for Keeneland. I did not see that, but if I mean, that's a massive scratch nonetheless in any way. I mean, any way you could put it, it's a massive scratch. So, I mean, there's a lot to like about him. What did you like about Carl Spackler?
Carl Spackler. Listen, we were following the Gulfstream Championship meet for most of it. Making picks on the show, and we covered both of Carl Spackler's races, and they were both made in special weight races. Ran against Farbridge in the first one, and ran a solid second. Lost by a head, uh, and then comes back and improves on the Beyer number line and wins by 8 lengths. So this horse is pretty good for Chad Brown, and this horse, if I had a feeling, is going to keep improving. Um, it could sit and stalk off speed, which dude in Colorado might show speed. There's a couple others that might show some speed. I think this horse is the goods, and this is a horse that we're going to be following into the summertime and at Saratoga.
I would love to see this horse in Saratoga over the summer. But look, this horse is easily the goods. I mean, both these horses, both Farbridge and Carl Spackler, they're both absolute monsters. There's no way around it. That race was an absolutely amazing race back in January at Gulfstream Park during the championship meet. It's like I said, there's a lot of people saying that Carlos Spackler might scratch. Trish Smith just commented as well that she's heard the rumors, and if he does, that's a big scratch. You definitely have a chance to beat him in this race, but if this horse continues to improve off that 92 Beyer, I think this horse has tactical speed, but I don't necessarily think he needs to be that up close in a race like this, which is why I don't think the 11 hole necessarily hurts him too much. But his numbers, realistically, they're not way above the field, but if he continues to improve off that 92 to maybe a mid 90s, it's definitely, and he gets the trip that I think he'll get, it's definitely going to be hard to beat in a race like this. So, and with Chad Brown, obviously, there's no, and Tyler's been riding more for Chad, I've been noticing, especially when Irad rides a Pletcher horse that he has or anything like that. He's definitely going to Tyler, and the viewers of the podcast know I really like the way Tyler rides. He rides um, all the boys on the back here and all the boys and the girls in the back here. He rides them really well for us. Smokin' Jay being the best one at the Gulfstream Park meet, but Carl Speck, like I said, if as long as this horse continues to improve, I think this horse could be tough. As long as he's actually in the race, which now I really have to focus. I really have to look that up because if he does scratch, that's going to be, like I said, a big one. Patrick, you have the number 3 in second, which I actually don't have anywhere. It's and the winner is for Catalano and Lannery. Obviously, a very good horse who won the Bourbon last fall at Keeneland.
Yeah. And the winner is, I'm hoping that's what I'm going to be saying when this horse comes from off the pace and shocks us at a big price. I'm a big fan of the trainer Wayne Catalano. He seems to hit at big prices, and this horse actually has not been that big of prices when the horse is run. The horse has been bet. The problem with this horse is the horse has been all over the map. Has been, fairly consistent on the buyer's speed figure line, but just shows up in some races and then just doesn't show up in others. Um, I just think this pace and with Carl Spackler getting an outside post, which isn't ideal, but I just think Carl Spackler's that good and can overcome it. Um, I think if and the winner is can find a spot early on, settle in, and make one move, this horse has a great chance. And you know, on days like this on Keeneland and on this turf, we've seen where the big shots come in, and I think this could be a race where if Carl Spackler gets hit by the bad draw, I think we get a price.
Yeah, and look, I've never been that high on this horse. Horse ran really well in the Bourbon. I really just think that was due to the absolutely monster pace that this horse got set up in front of him. But the one thing that we obviously can say now is this horse really likes Keeneland. Obviously didn't run too well in the British Cup Juvenile Turf, even though he was really up against it in that race against monsters like Victoria Road and Silver Knot. But this horse really likes the course. I just don't think this horse is really the caliber of a lot of other horses in this race, such as Carl Speckle. I mean, this horse ran its best race on soft at Houston, ran a 77 to win the Bourbon last year. It's just this horse really has to improve numbers wise and visuals wise, realistically, if you watch its replays. Like I said, it definitely can. And at Keeneland, where It's run its best races. I think he can be a factor. It's just he's going to have to improve for me personally, but that's just the way I see it. And I will note it in the chat. Thank you to everyone that commented. This is where, again, the young guy knowledge, I apologize, but now that you remind me, I do know both Nick Feldman and Matthew Chimera both said that Tyler is marrying or married to the girl whose dad is big at E5. So thank you both for that one. I greatly appreciate it. But like I said, for winner is I have Web Slinger in second. This is the horse that I want if I'm gonna want anyone coming from the back. This horse is really improving. Lost to Dude in Colorado in a pretty slow pace last time, getting a pretty big breather. Going 112-1 for 3/4 last time out. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Gulfstream really plays heavy to those front runners a lot of the time, especially when the course is as super firm as it has been these past few months. Beating a horse known as Boppy O, which if you follow the podcast, that's a horse that Otago beat his last time out. Sorry, I had to get that in there. I saw Boppy O in that race. I had to throw that in there. But I think this horse really has a shot if the pace heats up in front, which there's definitely a decent amount of speed in this race. So it just continuously improves, ran really well in the Colonel Liam last time with gets Castellano again. I mean, this horse just has everything realistic going for it, especially if Spackler scratches and he'll have a lot of speed in front of him. I think this, in my opinion, this will be the horse to beat in this race. I know you have the horse in third. Did you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was trying to get two long shots underneath. My idea here was Dude in Colorado with Carl Spackler in the race. I think Carl Spackler's better than Dude in Colorado. You take Carl Spackler out of the race, I think Dude in Colorado gets upgraded for me personally. And I mean, this horse could be one of the lone speeds. This horse is going to go to the lead pretty much, and good horse, but I just don't think as good as Carl Spackler.
I mean, which is completely fair in the realm of it. I really think this horse can really get a trip, especially if there's speed in front of him. And I have Dude in Colorado in third, which I'll touch on. This horse is just really fast out of the gate. He's definitely going to have to navigate from out there. Obviously, if there's one guy I want, it's Irad, but I just think this horse is the best speed out of the entire race. And if there's one horse that can stick around to be able to catch a piece in second or third, maybe even just the super, it would be Dude in Colorado. But this horse will take money, probably not as much due to the post, but this is one horse that I definitely don't want to have beat me if something nuts happens and this horse can clear, because this is going to be the horse that will take him wire to wire if he can clear from that 12 hole. So that horse is in third for me. I see a lot of love for Nadrock in here. I want to touch on it because that's a horse I originally had in third, was Nadrock for Pratt in Motion. I just personally, for me, I'm going to put it full screen here just so everyone can see the PPs. I don't think a mile and 16th is going to suit this horse. I'm going to play the replay of the last race at Santa Anita in the Eddie Logan Stakes. Thank you for the PP. But apparently I can't make it full screen. Apparently, there we go. But I just don't think that the distance is going to suit this race. I'm going to skip to the stretch here. The stretch run. Nadrock is 1-1 to 5 on the outside right here, and you see him ranging up really nicely. And as I go down to the top of the stretch here, you'll see this horse gets in the clear and just never really has a kick to come forward. And I mean, granted, it's Santa Anita, but 110 is not a slow pace by any means. And this horse just kind of lacks that closing kick to get home and loses by a length to a horse who's really not up to caliber to the rest of these horses in Classical Cat. I mean, I just don't know if this horse is going to get the distance, and that's my one concern. Granted, closed into a slow pace last time, but it didn't necessarily look like it was the slow pace. It more looked like this horse was just not able to get the stamina to be able to catch up to the rest of the field. That's my one quarrel. This horse can definitely win, or not, maybe not win, but he can definitely be in the money. I just, like I said, distance is a concern for me on this horse, so I'm going to leave him off my ticket. But again, if you guys have him, I can completely see why he ran really well in the juvenile turf last year, but with that added little bit of distance, that's where my concern lies. So I'm going 11-2-12, and Patrick is going 11-3-2 in this race. And again, as I go back to the chat, Gary Colarusso likes Webslinger and Nadgerok. Nick Feldman likes Nadgerok as well. Mo Stash is another horse in this race that we didn't talk about. This horse is just going to be up front as well. I don't necessarily know if this horse is going to be able to stick around with Dude in Colorado, although ran really well in the Columbia last race at Tampa Bay. This horse is just going to have to get a little bit better for me, although improving buyers the whole way through, so definitely can improve off that last effort. I just don't know if the shape is necessarily going to be right for this horse. But again, another horse in this race where I can completely see why people are picking it. But I'm going to leave him off my ticket as well. And then Rob N comments in the chat, no idea what to make. I really don't know either, Rob. It's with the way that turf course played this year, it's going to be super interesting to see how these horses come back. Obviously, the really nice horses that are either more experienced or have won races beforehand are going to be a little bit easier to gauge. But these 3-year-olds or something like that, which ran down in Louisiana, it's going to be extremely interesting to see what they do. But I completely agree with you, Rob. It's going to almost be a toss-up whether they're going to like these types of turf courses or not. The boss is here. I told you he'd show up eventually. But what's up, horse racing fans? Hope to see you tomorrow. 2 live shows. That is correct. As I noted at the beginning of the show, we have one at 6:30 Eastern and 8 p.m. Eastern. First one covering the Bluegrass Stakes Day, late pick 5 on Bluegrass Stakes Day, and the second one covering Wood Memorial Stakes Day, the late pick 5 there as well. So please, if you're interested in all the great racing this weekend, please check out both Howard, Pete, and Paul tomorrow for both shows. So Nick Feldman, hey, as an average daily double enjoyer, I love this comment, Nick. As you know, I would probably, if Carl Spackler runs the Punch Bowl, I think you're going to be able to get paid probably the 5-to-1 range, just due to the fact that people are not only going to be betting Punch Bowl, but the money's going to be spread to Wonder Wheel as well. I wouldn't even be surprised if Wonder Wheel and Punch Bowl are around the same price. Maybe if Wonder Wheel, it might be even lower just because of the name recognition. Personally, you'll see my picks in the next race. I love Punch Bowl in that race. I think that horse has a pure pace advantage in that next race, but we'll have to see. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were around the same, or Punch Bowl's might be even slightly more than Wonder Wheel. But I'm thinking around that 5-6-to-1 range. I completely agree with you, Nick. So, like I said, completely appreciate that one as a daily double enjoyer myself. And Patrick, as I switch to our next picks here, in race 9, you'll see my picks come up on the screen. I love Punch Bowl. Patrick's going against is he's actually going with the second favorite in the 2-hole, which is Wonder Wheel for Mark Cassidy. But obviously, I'm going to bring up the Equibase ones just to check out the field real quick. It is the $600,000 Grade 1 Ashland Stakes presented by Central Bank. I got to get in there. The boss is in the chat. Got to read out the whole name of the race, but it's a field of 7, but with 3, if not 4, amazing horses in this race in Wonder Wheel, Guns and Graces, Julia Shining, and Punch Bowl. The morning line favorite is the number 2 Wonder Wheel for Gaff, Leone, and Cassie. Let me put us full screen for this because I want to say this out loud. Nick, I was about to say Nick Feldman. Nick Tamero is doing the morning lines for this Keeneland meet again, as he did in the fall. Absolutely great guy, as I've gotten to know him over the year or so that I've been blessed enough to be able to do this show and do everything for Howard. So it's just been an absolutely wild ride. Nick Tamero is one of the best at doing it. I love his lines. And in this race, I completely agree with his line. I really do think that Wonder Wheel is going to be favored over Punch Bowl just due to the sole fact of name recognition alone for this money. But I just wanted to touch on that really quick. But big shout out to Nick Tamero, who is a great guy and a very, very astute morning line maker and his Keeneland line making this is greatly earned by him. So just wanted to give that quick shout out there. And as I bring up the PPs, what do you like about Wonder Wheel and with Mark Cassidy and Tyler Gaffleon?
Yeah, listen, I think we talked about a while back that Wonder Wheel got greedy in the Suncoast to Tampa Bay. The horse was going to go by and win that race and just did not. And it's the horse is going to be favored. People are going to look back at that race and wonder how she didn't win. But I just think this horse on this track, you look at that Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I know the buyer didn't come back as big as people would like to bet on this horse, but I just think she loves this track and is going to just, this is going to be her race. She can sit off if she wants, stalk, and then pounce on Punch Bowl. Now, listen, Punch Bowl looks unbelievable. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to lose to Wonder Wheel, and I'd rather put her on top and lose than have her in second and third and be like, why didn't I pick her on her? I'm going to call home track.
Wow, host fail. Jesus Christ. I completely agree with you. I think the Wonder Wheel was loaded in that last race, and while she wasn't even cranked up at all, I think Tyler Gaffalione rode her extremely confident. I won't show the replay, but if you want to go watch it, Tyler Gaffalione was in hand the entire way around the stretch and tried to get her to go in the final eighth and just had nothing left, which was extremely weird. At 2-5, might I add, but this horse is, she's definitely loaded for another big race here, but I think the same thing might happen as the last race as I go with the number 5 Punch Bowl on top as my PPs aren't loading, which is absolutely great to see. DRF, I swear to God. No, I'm just kidding. But I think Punch Bowl has not a massive, but a big pace advantage in this race. This horse looks extremely live in a spot like this for Cox, Pratt, and Gary and Mary West off of a really big effort in a really big allowance race or optional claiming race at Oaklawn Park in March. This first race is this maiden race again. I keep touching on it, but Unsung Melody came back to run an 81 or a 72. Granted, lower buyer, but came back, ran second. One at Oaklawn, and then came second at in the Gulfstream Park Oaks behind Affirmative Lady and Sacred Wish. So it's coming out of a very live maiden race. Absolutely wiped the floor with that allowance field last time. And like I said, I think she gets pretty decent fractions in a race like this and will be able to just take them all the way around. And as you'll notice, I don't have anything else to add on Wonder Wheel. I think Patrick really nailed it on the head. But if there's one thing that I see that I'm sure a lot of people are going to see in this race is nowhere do we have Julia shining. I have this horse in third. Patrick doesn't have this horse at all. And I mean, Trish Smith hits it on the head. She's been a massive Julia Shining fan, willing to give her one more chance, especially since she won't be the favorite. I completely understand that line of thought. I was going to say, but I don't see it for this horse. I really don't. She's good, and the blinkers on. I do like the equipment change, although I don't really like it in this big of a spot. In a grade 1, they're going to put the blinkers on. Obviously, Pletcher knows so much more than I do, but this horse is going to really have to improve to beat a horse like Punch Bowl, to go get a horse like Punch Bowl in a race where this horse might just be out on its own in front. Maybe this horse gets up for third and maybe second if Wonder Wheel does not fire that day, but I've signed my divorce papers already on this horse, Trish. I can't pick a horse like this. That's kind of, and this horse is going to take money again for sure. I wouldn't be surprised to see like probably 8-5, 2-1, 5-2, or something along those lines. Because realistically, for me, the 6 and the 7, I can't. They just look really slow. I mean, the 7 maybe has a shot. I mean, ran really well in this last optional claiming race at Oaklawn for Norm Cassie, who has been having an absolutely amazing meet, by the way. It might have added Oaklawn, but that horse needs to improve. The 6 needs to improve for McPeak. The number 3, Guns and Graces, is a horse that has been on the upswing, just lost a massive long shot. I mean, long shot over long shot in the Devona Dale at Gulfstream. If you remember, Darth Vader was the horse that was 49-1 in that race, who went wire to wire. But this horse, I mean, I think this horse just passed a lot of tired horses that day. It's going to need to show me it again to continue to improve. Obviously, Wonder Wheel and the Pride of the Nile really has to improve to win a race like this. And I know what people are going to say. Actually, well, there's the comment by Frank Payne. She is a full sister Malthot. I know that, and this horse that just makes me think this horse is going to get distance. But I don't think she's necessarily as good. Granted, like I said, she could completely improve with the equipment change and and just maturity and everything like that. But I'm filing my divorce papers on this horse until I can see it again, because this horse is just going to continuously take money. If this horse can't get to a horse like Punchbowl, who I think is going to have the lead in this race, it's just not for me. So I don't knock people that are playing this horse. It's just not going to be for me in this type of spot. I'm going 5-2-4. Patrick is going 2-3-5 in this race. And actually, Patrick, I apologize. I didn't let you talk about Guns and Graces. What did you like about her?
Yeah, listen, this horse has to improve, like you said. But I don't think this is out of the horse's reach. Obviously, Chad Brown, great trainer. Gets Joel Rosario. I get that Devona Dale race lost to a long shot. I get it. I just think this horse showed one thing, that more distance. If this horse can get more distance with a pace, this horse can close into the pace. And this horse is versatile in that, his speed figures, he can go early and stay back, or, wait, wait and then go. I just versatility with this horse is what I like.
Yeah, and look, like I talked about, this horse is definitely versatile. It can show tactical speed. Like I said, this horse is gonna have to really improve for me, and that's where I'll
Sure.
take if this horse can beat me. People are gonna get paid, but I just won't have this horse on my ticket. So, like I said, I'm going 5-2-4. Patrick's going 2-3-5, and now for the finale. I cannot speak today. I apologize, guys, but the finale is a massive $100,000 maiden special weight in a full field of 12 plus 4 also eligibles in this type of race. And as I bring up the Equibase right now, said full field of 12 going a mile and an eighth on the turf for maidens. That's why I love Keeneland, man. You get a mile and an eighth races for maidens on the turf. It's
Yeah.
absolutely great. And the morning line favorite is going to be the number 10 Doral for the Alvarado and Mott. Um, and as I switch the picks here, I am going with the number 10 Doral. Patrick's actually going with the number 6 Heckled for Rosario and Stidham at 12-1. I'm actually kind of surprised at that 12-1 figure. But Patrick, as I switch to the PPs, what did you love about Heckled?
Yeah, so am I. I'm actually surprised about the 12-1 morning line, and I'm actually surprised looking at both of our picks that we're actually close. We have, decent of the same picks here, because I do feel like this race could be wide open. Heckled, listen, obviously we'll have to improve, but this horse should improve. Great connections. Michael Stidham's a solid trainer. Uh, Maiden's second start hitting at 16%, which is, not bad. Is coming from fairgrounds. We talked about that turf. We just don't know what to expect. I think this could benefit the horse. The horse showed me, after watching the replay, closing and finishing and running out, which I like. So, listen, I think this horse has a chance in a wide open race. The fractions in that race at fairgrounds were not very good, but improving it, running into those is pretty solid. So I'm going to take a shot here, and I'm taking a shot, with the 6, and then I could talk about the 3 for a minute, with
Yep,
Jack
absolutely.
Sisterson. Listen, Jack Sisterson has been unbelievable this year, actually hitting at 21%. He hit a long shot. I forget the name of the horse. What it was at Gulfstream this past weekend.
I do know who you're talking about, but I cannot remember the name either. But if someone in the chat knows, please chat that up. But I do know Jack Siskin won a big one with a long shot.
This horse is going to stretch out, obviously, in distance, and the horse has showed that it could stretch out in distance. Uh, Stays with Julian Leperoux. The horse has been training fantastically. Listen, I think this horse should take some money, and should be right there
Yeah, I mean, for number 3, the reason I didn't have it, I think the horse obviously first time out, but really benefited from the pace
behind
last
enemy
time
line.
out.
That's it. Yep.
Buying enemy lines. Thank you, Matthew. That's one of our most astute viewers, as Paul would say. Thank you so much, Matthew. Greatly appreciated. But I think this horse really benefited from the really fast pace scenario. But again, these first time starters, you can never really gauge something like that off their first start, whether they're just slow into stride or anything like that. They can get thrown way back and be able to close into a pace like that. But Idle Chatter is definitely interesting, as Jack Sissons had a really good start to the year. You talked about the 6 Heckled. There's one thing I want to touch on with her. Dang it, man. Dang it. Drinks to everyone out there. Cheers. But the one thing I wanted to show on her was who else the damn Speckled has produced. And as I go over to the sibling PPs, remember this horse? Know anything about this horse? Pixelate, the $1.2 million winner on the turf for Stidham as well. I mean, look, the dam has, and I mean, Pearl Earring wasn't a bad horse, made just under 100,000 for Stidham as well. This horse, I mean, granted, they're all good Dolphins, they're all going to Stidham, but Pixelate was out of the same dam, which I think is a really interesting concept for a horse that's only raced once. I think this horse can really improve off the second start. I can, like, as long as this horse can have a little bit of tactical speed as it shows, I think this horse could be really decently live in a race like this, especially at that price of 12-1, which I'm not sure you're going to get for a full 12-1, but could be interesting. But let me talk about my top pick. I love Doral in this spot. I love this horse. This horse has just lost twice at a Gulfstream Park turf where the really has not favored closers at all. I mean, not at all, but it really hasn't favored closing. Especially like I said, with the very firm DERF that they have over there. Coming from staying at a mile and an eighth rather, for Bill Mott. Alvarado been working amazing. I think this horse sits a great trip in a race like this. I like that this horse is on the outside with these maidens. I wouldn't hate her if she was on the inside, but I like that she's drawn into the clear. I'm going to actually show this last race where, actually, I'm going to show both. I'm going to show the start of this race here at Gulfstream, where this horse is the number 8 right here. And you can see at the start, as I pull it back here, they kind of sit in the gate for a while. So I was trying to skip forward. Breaks slow, gets pinched off completely. And as this horse takes the full turn, you can see her. She's really kind of pulling. And this horse is going to be able to swing out at the top of the stretch here. You see she's kind of flying past, granted, against a very decent maiden field at Gulfstream in the championship meet. You think she's going to swing to the outside and really have this closing kick, is just not going to be able to get it fully done first time out. You see this horse just starts flying at the end, but All American Beauty gets through and is able to beat her by a neck. And as I show the second replay for this horse here, so I go to race replay, this horse, there was a little bit better trip in this race for sure. I'm sure you can argue that. My apologies. But she gets kind of shut off a little bit at the start there at 6-5. She's sitting a much better spot this race. But as I go to the top of the stretch here, you see this she just has nowhere to go. Alvarado's trying to get her out. There's nowhere to go. She's just going to bully his way, try to get out. And then finally, once she gets into some clean air, she's going to have that kick. But Mademoiselle Jackie, who's able to go 23-48, I mean, you're just not going to be able to catch a good horse like that. So is able to just, again, lose by a neck. So you can argue maybe a little bit of second-itis, but I really like what this horse has showed at Gulfstream. And I think this horse sits in a lot better spot in a turf course that generally favors horses coming from the back. I absolutely love Doral in this spot. And I'm going to go over my second horse. Actually, I'll let you touch on. Did you notice anything else with Doral? That kind of hit the nail on the head?
No, you hit the nail on the head. And I'm always a big fan of Billy Mott and Junior Alvarado, and especially a horse like that. I just wanted to catch a little bit of a price, but I think this horse could very much win. This would be the type of horse that I would single in a race, but I just, with the early favorites, I was kind of like, you know what, there's no need to try and single Doral. So, but you nailed it. You talked about Doral just the way I was gonna say.
Yeah, and like I said, just kind of all the things that I look at are pointing to this horse in a race like this. So, like I said, I love the spot for the horse. I love the way that the horses ran, and I think this horse, after the paired by our top, I think this horse is just vaulting itself for improvement. So, Doral, my top pick in this race. I have the number 7 Haystack for Chad Brown and Tyler. Again, just been absolutely way back. Granted, raced at Saratoga last year as a 2-year-old, showed decent numbers in that type of race, but this horse has been way too far out of it a lot of the time. Been able to, then the last race at Gulfstream for its first start as a 3-year-old, just ran into a cold pace with 23 and 4 almost on the Gulfstream turf. It was really not that quick at all. But look at all the horses that ran against Mademoiselle Jackie, who won that next race against Doral, and then well into he came back and won another race. So I think this horse is really, especially with the equipment change for Chad, I think this horse is going to be put a little bit more into the race by Tyler, and I think this horse really stands a shot. I think this horse could be really live in this race. And actually, Matthew Chamorro, again, one of my favorite astute viewers, I think looked more distance better. Completely agree with the added 16th of a mile. She should have won. Doral should have won last time. But again, I just think with the breather that Mademoiselle Jackie came back with, I don't know. I think Doral's really set up for a live race here, but we'll see how it goes. I have the number 6 and third, as I touched on before, half sister of Pixelate, who was a $1.2 million winner, has a lot of upside second time out. And Patrick, I'm going to let you finish out. Or no, you actually touched about the Idle Chatter already, so we're actually good. But this race is completely wide open, and you can definitely go each and every way in this race, as you'll see from not only my pick 5, but his pick 5 as well. There is one comment that I want to touch on. I believe it's Costa Bella. There's a lot of comments about Costa Bella in this race. I can't remember. So the number 5 is Costa Bella for Keneally and Luis Saez. This horse for me, if I remember correctly, this horse really didn't have turf breeding at all. If I remember, Justify obviously. Justify, if I go to first time, I believe I looked up first time turf starters for this horse. It was, I think it was like 6 for 35 or something like that. So he really doesn't do that well with first time turf starters. The breeding's just not there for me. The distance definitely shouldn't be an issue, but I'm going to have to see this horse run on turf first. But this will be a horse that, if this horse is taking money at the windows, this is definitely going to be a horse to look for. But that's going to be my type of thing. It's just going to have that run over the turf for me to take a look at it, especially without the breeding. So I'm going 10-7-6. Patrick is going 6-3-10. And now, Patrick, as I bring us full screen, I'm going to bring on our pick 5s for this one. And Patrick, big money bags, man. He's going with a little bit bigger. I'm going to let you talk about your ticket first as I bring it up on the screen now. You were going 3-6-8 in the first leg with 3-5, with 3-11-12, singling Wonder Wheel. And then the last race is absolute cluster, whatever, you know what I mean. Like I said, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10, 11, basically almost all for an $81 ticket. Patrick, go ahead, talk about your construction.
Yeah, listen, the 6 and the 8 are going to be lower prices in the first leg. I'm going to try and throw in a long shot there with the 3. In the second leg, I was going to go in the first leg just the wards, but I'm like, you know what? My ticket's $81. I should try a long shot in there because the payout will not be as much. So I'm going to stick with that. And then in the second leg, the 3 and the 5, the 3, the Baffert horse. Listen, I don't want that horse to beat me. I'm going to put the horse on my ticket.
Yep.
And Corona Belt, I hope wins, and I hope is a decent price. Then in the third leg, I'm going to go 3 deep with the 3, 11, and 12. Call Spackler. I was thinking about singling, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to throw in a price, and the winner is the 3 there and the 12 June in Colorado. That's another instance where I've had that horse. The horse has won for me. That's a good thing, obviously, but I don't want to lose to the horse coming back. So I'm going to put the horse on my ticket. And then Wonder Wheel. We talked about it. Listen, Wonder Wheel, I just hope loves Keeneland like she did in the Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies, and we'll be good to go, I think. And then in the 10th race, listen, just get me there and give me a chance.
Hey, I get it. Don't you worry about that. And obviously $81 ticket's not, it's not a small amount, but it's definitely an amount that can yield a winner and yield some prices in a race like this, especially the last one for you. My pick 5 is up on the screen now. It's $60. It is 2, 3, 6, 8 with 3, 4, 5 with 11 with 2, 5 with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the last for $60. Like I said, and look, then I had the same thing you did. I was thinking about going to both wards, but I don't really like the 6 that much as much as the 8 necessarily. So I went with the 2 Frozen Solid for Brian Lynch and the 3 Nota Bene for Wilkes and Saez. I think those horses could definitely catch a piece, especially if the and in the 7th race, I went 3, 4, 5. I kind of think it's a 3-horse race between those 3. Hijazi, Corona Bolt, and my top pick determinately in that race. If determinately wins, we're going to Sizzler or something, because that's hopefully that horse can be a price. I'm singling Carl Spackler. Obviously, if that horse scratches, like some of you have been saying in the chat, we'll have to rethink the ticket. But again, just more reason to follow me on Twitter, because I'll post all of my updates to all my picks on Twitter. So again, at AP Roscoe K, if you are so inclined. But I'm singling Carl Spackler if he runs. And then I'm going 2-5 in the next race. I really don't see the need to have anyone else. I'm against Julia Shining in this spot, not completely, but against her not enough to not put her on my ticket. I really like Punch Bowl, but I'm gonna throw Wonder Wheel in there as well. And then in the last race, I'm going 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, this race is just wide open. I'm going with all the horses on the outside. I think the 8 has some upside. The 9 has some upside, and I think I went 10, 7, 6 in that race, if I'm not mistaken, which is my top 3. So what I will say though, for the people out there, I'm a big daily double player, but I love playing press up tickets with these pick 5s just in case this chalk comes in. I'm going to play not a big press up ticket, but I'm going to play probably a $3, $4, $5 press up ticket with Carl Spackler singled, with Punch Bowl singled, with Doral singled, and probably leave the rest. The first 2 are where I really don't have my, bang opinions on. The last 3 are where I have a lot better opinions. So I'm going to play a press up ticket with those 3 singled, probably, like I said, for $3. So in that case, it'll be a, so 3 times 12, so a $36 press up ticket. But like I said, if all that chalk comes in, you're going to want to get paid. And with that press up, that's where that, if that press up and that chalk comes in, that's where you can make a little bit more money on top. So again, we have had absolutely great viewership this entire way through this Keeneland opening card. I just want to say from my heart, and I'm sure Patrick's as well, thank you guys so much. It's been an absolutely a wild ride to get this show together and all that. So like I said, just greatly appreciate everyone out there watching. Thank you very much. But now, if Patrick is just as excited as I am, it's Masters time, baby. I love this time of year. I'll never forget. Granted, again, I'm young, but my favorite golfer growing up, just like everyone else that loved golf as a kid, was Tiger Woods. And I'll never forget the time where I watched every single minute of all 4 rounds in 2019 from my dorm couch with my roommates, which 2 of them really cared about golf and 2 of them had no idea what the hell was going on, but they knew who Tiger Woods was. So we were all cheering for him when he made that massive run on the back 9 at Augusta in the final round. It was an absolute treat. But like I said, it's a week unlike any other, tradition like unlike any other.
You nailed it.
So, got to get mine in. But first, I've almost forgot. First, before we move on, I want to give a massive congratulations to our winner of our March Madness pool. And unlucky for us, he actually didn't have an account, but he picked UConn to win. It is ESPN fan 817-269-6063. But please, I posted on Twitter. Please email either me or Howard as I put it up on the screen, like I meant to, please email me or Howard to claim your prize. And a very, very hard fought congratulations to DJ Poirier in second place, who also had UConn to win it all, but just came up a little bit short by 90 points. But please email us to claim your prize. I just wanted to touch on that, as we had a free $100 alive, and 2 people were alive. If actually, they both had UConn win. If UConn actually lost that Final Four game, DG Poirier, excuse me, I said DJ beforehand, but he would have won if UConn lost. So, but like I said, just an absolutely great time. I think I finished like third from last. My record was horrible. I don't even know. Like I said, obviously massive long shots win, I lose, and that's the way it goes around here. But just absolutely ridiculous March Madness. Just to have a 9 seed in the final against a 4 seed is ridiculous. Or not a 9 seed in the Final Four. It's like I don't watch anything. It's crazy.
It's all right.
But as I bring up the top 10 betting favorites for the Masters, me and Patrick are going to go over a little bit of, and this will probably only be a 10-minute segment, guys, but please stay on if you're at all interested in sports betting or betting the Masters this weekend, because we do have some insight. I'm going to let Patrick go first and talk about the bets that he likes. And oh God,
I'll go. Yeah,
just Patrick, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So this Masters tournament's interesting because you try and fans and bettors try and pick ways to beat favorites, and that's just the general. That's what happens. And when you look at this and you look at the odds, and you see Scotty Scheffler at plus 700 with Rory,
you're good. Keep going, but I just want to point that out to people.
It's just absurd to me that Scotty Scheffler at Augusta National is increasingly better than Rory McIlroy according to these odds. Scotty Scheffler should be like plus 400 in my opinion. He has the form, he knows the course, and he's the defending champ. And I know people don't want to pick him to win back-to-back, but there is no reason why he can't win again, and he can't repeat, and he can't romp this field. Look, I'm gonna bet other guys. Don't get me wrong, but one bet I would definitely consider is Rory and Scheffler. Parlay them to be in the top 10. It turns into plus 170. You get decent odds. I think I don't like to call it a slam dunk, but pretty much I think Scheffler's a slam dunk to be in the top 10, unless he has a catastrophe on 12, the par 3, hits it in the water, or 11, the par 4 with the water on the left.
As a Sergio Garcia moment?
Yeah, I just don't see why Scotty Scheffler cannot be a top 10. And listen, Rory's got to complete the Grand Slam. Who's, hopefully maybe he can be in contention over the weekend. And then just 2 other bets that I have for you is Phil Mickelson to miss the cut. This guy's a joke. I mean, he's
a joke.
Phil Mickelson. Listen, if he does good, you can do whatever you want. You can stop listening to me because I just don't see him doing anything good at Augusta. I just don't see it. And then my last bet is Patrick Cantlay to win the Masters. Listen, I'm Cantlay is coming in. He's decent form. His tee to green has been unbelievable. I do not see why he can't be in contention. Now I'm going to bet him to win. I'm going to bet top 5, top 10, and see how it goes.
Yeah, and look, there's nothing wrong with any of those bets. The big thing is, and actually, both Jim Pillar's, one of my other favorite astute viewers, and the boss himself, it's absolute garbage this weekend, which really sucks. These last few years, we've been actually very lucky to have very nice weather down in Augusta, Georgia during this weekend. It is not going to be that this weekend, with rain predicted every single day, Friday through Sunday, in the 50s. And down, it's going to be 50 here, for Christ's sake, in Chicago. Like, it's going to be horrible down there. And for me, when in these rainy conditions, especially at a course that's already extremely hard, like Augusta, you're going to have someone that drives the ball far. You're going to have someone who's accurate enough with their irons to be able to keep it straight. And with all the false fronts and stuff like that, when the greens aren't going to be firm, you're going to have someone with the pinpoint accuracy to the greens to be able to fly those false fronts. Obviously, again, insert Sergio Garcia moment here, but look, like I said, Patrick, I love you, I respect you, but I don't like Rory at all in this type of field. And Jim said the same thing. He just hasn't had the form as of recent. I know he plays decent at Augusta, but I just don't see it for a golfer like him. Scheffler's coming in with better form than anybody in a tournament like this, where again he's the defending champion, might I add. I think plus 700 is pretty good value just to win the Masters alone. I know Michael Ossens has never bet the favorite in golf. I get it, I do, but I really don't. I see him being top 10 at least. Just the way that he's been coming into this tournament, the way he hits the ball. Again, he touches all the boxes, drives it far. His irons are absolutely bliss right now at this point of his career. I at least top 10, if not to win the entire thing at plus 700. Obviously, if he's in the top 20, I believe it's minus 170 or something like that, which is not the best odds. But I mean, he's definitely going to be up there for sure. If he doesn't, then it's an absolute shocker for him, for the British people out there. So absolute shocker. Sorry. But look, I love Scotty Scheffler to be in the top 10, if not the top 5. Rory being the same odds as him is almost ridiculous to me. The way that they're both coming in, the way you look at Scheffler's previous tournaments up to this, and you look at Rory's. Rory missed the cut in the Players. He missed the cut in the Honda Classic, I believe, too. Like just
the Players,
yeah, and the player, like it's just he's just not in good form. Granted, obviously it's Augusta. Rory can turn it around just like any of the best golfers in the world, but I don't see it personally. I honestly, for value to win, just looking straight up, for me, you're going to want to have someone with experience of playing well at Augusta. Scheffler, obviously, at plus 700 is really good. Spieth's been playing really well coming into this tournament. He's 17-1 plus 1,700 in a spot like this. And I think a little bit of a longer shot who has a good shot would be Viktor Hovland. Viktor Hovland's been playing really well coming into this spot. Was third top 5 in the Players, I think. And both him and Homa actually were top 5 in the Players. Shout out my family's golf pool. I'm taking your money right now, but Hovland at 37-1 seems like a good price for a golfer like his stature as well. As Patrick and I were talking before the show, when Hovland's game is on, his game is darn on. But sadly, it only usually comes one round out of the 4. If he can at least get 2, he'd put himself in a lot better position. But I don't know. My top 3 value lines for on the win end would be Scheffler at plus 700, Spieth at 17-1, and then Hovland at 37-1. For the win end, I'm going to pick Hovland in the top 20. I believe if I take a look at that real quick, it is, why did it go away from me? Top 20 is, sorry guys, I apologize, plus 105 for Hovland. So it's decent price odds, about a 2-1 shot there that I'd be willing to take on a golfer like Hovland. Well, again, Rory McIlroy's minus 250. Again, sorry, Patrick. I can't do that for sure. And Jim, damn you, I called you an astute viewer. Damn it, I hate you. No, but Jim, I'm just messing with you, man. But it's gonna be it's just gonna be a fun weekend. The Masters I'll sit on my ass all day long, watch the Masters. I work tomorrow. Yeah.
Masters.com, ring it up.
That's right. Hey, hopefully no one from my job watches this, but no, all the guys that love golf know this is the time of year to be able to chill out. Again, I'm going to go through the comments here just to end the show off. And obviously I want to hear all your opinions for all you people that love golf. Michael Austin bet Shane Lowry top 20. Shane Lowry's been playing really well too. Obviously he has to show it still in majors like this, but he's played well at Augusta before. Scheffler top 10, doesn't like the Rory bet as well. Obviously, to each their own, but I completely agree with you, Michael. Patrick does not. Scheffler top 10 is decent.
I do have one thing on that
What's up?
comment. It was a stat that I was looking up. Just that's actually a good comment to bring up too. The past 7 Masters winners were either ranked number 1 in the official world golf ranking or outside the top 10. And the last player within the top 10 to win and not ranked number 1, Jordan Spieth.
Mm-hmm. So that's correct. Yeah. I was and obviously, like I said, 17-1, looking like a decent price. Michael Austin likes Jason Day to miss the cut. A guy like Day, he's really just hit or miss. Like honestly, the definition of hit or miss nowadays is Jason Day. He's played well in tournaments already at the beginning of 2023. I hear about all the time. Like I said, family golf pool. My dad is Jason Day. He says it all the time. He's like, "Oh, it's comeback." It was like whatever. Jason Day is like 80 years old at this point, and he hasn't played good golf since 2012. But he's been playing decently already this year. So maybe, but at a place like Augusta, where you're gonna have to hit the ball far. I don't mind that Jason Day bet at all. And again, he's been trashed for years. So as I touched on as well, he likes Frank Payne, likes Morikawa. Morikawa is another guy who really hasn't been the same since he kind of came onto the scene. It's probably what 2020, 2021, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit before that. My mind escapes me, but Morikawa's played decently at Augusta before. Going to definitely have to come back in form to be able to threaten the win. Michael Austin also likes Morikawa top 20. Wouldn't be surprised if Rory misses the cut. Noah, again, my astute viewer from UK, I don't mind that bet at all. And that bet's got to be a pretty decent odds. I would be willing to take it as well. Well, Rory could win it for sure, but it's just the form, Frank, just doesn't stack up. And like, obviously, he's really good at Augusta and he's played well beforehand. But with what Rory's playing right now, it could happen. It could happen, but we'll see how it goes. Where does Tiger finish? Oh, I don't know, man. I really
Top
want,
35.
yeah, I
I
really
think he'll
want
make
him
the
to
cut.
play well. It's really going to depend on how he's feeling because, especially with the weather,
Yeah.
he's going to have to be able to shape the ball, and if he's not feeling 100%, it's gonna be a little bit of rough time for him out there. But
Very hilly course too.
yeah, it's Tiger freaking Woods, man. I mean, it's the GOAT. It's the greatest of all time. I'm not up for debate on that one. Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer of all time that ever lived. And if you disagree with me, then everyone can have their opinion, but yours is wrong. It's fine. It's the way it goes. But Tiger hopefully makes the cut. I don't see him threatening for the win by any means. Hoping maybe, like I said, top 30, top 20, but top 20 might even be a stretch for a guy who still coming back from a pretty gnarly injury. So as much as I'd love to see Tiger threaten for the win, I don't think this is going to be his weekend. Although everyone said that in 2019 and at the PGA, not the PGA Championship, but the at East Lake in 2018 as well when he won the Tour Championship. That's what it is. But obviously everyone can do it. I already showed that comment because just getting into golf got my first. Let's go, Trish. I love it. Any new golfers in the sport? I started golfing in high school. I was on the golf team and I golfed in college as well. So hey, it doesn't take a whole lot. I go out and my girlfriend doesn't play golf at all. Well, she does, but she's just out there whacking the ball. She has a ton of fun. So I love that new golfers are getting into this game. I want Jordan Spieth to win it. Look, if Jordan Spieth can come back, I mean, that would be one of the most insane comebacks, right? Because Jordan Spieth won the Masters and then started playing horribly for like a 4-year stretch where he just continued to miss cuts. So having Jordan if Jordan can win this week, that would be pretty damn cool to see him come back to the winner's circle and get another green jacket. I love this, Jim. If a live golfer wins, will there be a group hug at the end? Yeah, it'll be two separate group huddles at the end, and everyone, they're all going to be jumping on each other in the live circle, and all the PGA tours are going to be staring at them. But I don't see it for a live golfer. I mean, look, they definitely can win. I mean, Dustin Johnson is as talented as they come, but it's going to take a monster effort from someone to win this, especially from the live tour. But no matter where you stand on the PGA tour versus live golf scenario, at a place like Augusta, anything can happen. So there's no saying that, Brooks Koepka, Major Brooks couldn't come up and, shoot 5 under on the first day and lead. So there's something like that's just something that goes on at Augusta and people learn to live with. But Patrick, do you have anything to close out? I'll leave you with the final comments for any of the horse racing, the Masters, or anything else going on this weekend. The floor is yours, my friend.
No, listen, it's just this is such a fun weekend. The Masters is so much fun. They got all the different feeds. You can watch all the different holes. Yeah, it's live golfers. Cam Smith, I do think, has the best chance at a live golfers. And at the end of the day, I just just going to be an awesome weekend. Keeneland starting up. Spring is close. Belmont's close. This is going to be just, we're getting there to all the fun. This is all just starting to happen. So this is going to be great. And the show's going to just get better and better because there's going to be better races. And then Kentucky Derby's going to be here. So we're excited.
Absolutely, man. I mean, not only horse racing, but obviously baseball starts up. I can't really see it too well. I have my South Side jersey on for the boys. Finally got a win today, starting off 3-3. I'll take for what it is, but MLB starting up, Keeneland starting, Derby season's fully upon us. I mean, just an absolutely amazing, and it finally was 70 degrees here in Chicago today. So that's a win in and of itself, but spring is the best time of year. And obviously in the horse racing world, it definitely is. But for my great co-host, Patrick Kuenzel, and me, your host, Kyle Roscoe, this has been episode number 14 of Bettin N Boozin on the HHH Racing Podcast. Again, thank you so much for everyone that came out today. We had great viewership. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. And we will catch you guys all next week for Bettin N Boozin, but for the 2 shows tomorrow for the HHH Racing Podcast, both covering Bluegrass Stakes Day and the Wood Memorial Day. That is 6:30 Eastern Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So I will see you guys there in the live chat. Looking forward to it, guys. But everyone have a great night tonight. Good night.